Welcome to the Arts in Medicine studio. I am so pleased that Ishan is with me here today. Hi, Ishan.
Hi. So good to see you guys again. I am totally excited and very, very pumped for the next episode.
Ishan, I'm so excited that we're going to be listening to chapter 4 of Cody and the Canon. I wanted to welcome Cynthia Adler. Hello, Cynthia.
Hello.
Thank you so much for giving us your time, and I can't wait till we get back to the studio and maybe you can come and meet our friends there.
We'd love to do that. Yep.
And super welcome to Jonah Halaban. Hi.
Hi. Thank you, Nitsa. I'm very excited to share this chapter. Cynthia and I have been working very hard on it.
He's my best partner.
Jonah, for those who are watching this episode and have not watched our story so far, would you just sum it up for us? What happened?
Thank you, Nitsa. So basically, in the story, Cody and the Canon, Cody, Violet, and Waffles, Cody's dog, have been mysteriously flown to this planet called Bork, even though they thought they're going to this planet called Vi, which Cody had gone to previously. And when they arrived there, these very mean guards took them away and sent them to the Darklands. And they've been there ever since, trying to plot a plan to save all of these people from the suffering and cruel leadership that they are facing.
And making sure you guys know that Cynthia Adler and Jonah Halaban are the co-authors, and Sonali Kumar is the illustrator. Jonah and Cynthia, let's hear what happened. I can't wait.
Cody and the Cannon, Chapter 4, by Cynthia Adler and Jonah Halaban. Everything was very quiet for a while, as Raya asked the Borkians to explain to Cody and Violet what it has been like living on Bork for these many long moons.
Lilo, one of the aliens, started by saying, "You would never have known what this planet was like 20 moons ago." "Are those years?" asked Cody. Lilo looked puzzled. "What are years?" asked Lilo. Raya stepped in and told the Borkians the time on Earth was counted very differently from that on their planet. They count by years, which are 360 days each. "What are days?" asked another Borkian named Nolo. "I think we can move on right now," said Raya. "We can tell you many things later, but for now, let us tell Cody and Violet what this planet was like before the darkness." "Okay," said Lilo. "We were a happy planet, a very happy, peaceful planet. We were free to walk and talk as we pleased, to anyone and anything." "What do you mean, anything?" said Cody. Raya laughed. "The Borkians used to be able to talk to everything, people, plants, chairs, beds, even their food, and they would listen." "Would they answer?" asked Violet, laughing a bit. "Yes," said Nolo.
Arpo, another Borkian, there were over 100 of them there in the Darklands, told Cody and Violet that Morko was born the child of a human. A human? Cody asked. Yes, a human who came from a place called Norwhere or something like that. He arrived in a boat and the baby was found in the weeds near the opening of the planet. Violet and Cody were holding their breath. There was something about this that made each of them shake in great suspense.
Arpo said that when the child was found by the Borkians, the father or mother was nowhere to be found. The baby was a boy, so tiny you could hold him in the palm of your hand, and in the folds of the blanket that surrounded him were 3 separate small photographs of earthlings, 2 men and one strange-looking young woman who looked like a mixture of both earthling and Borkian. She had very large brown eyes and a face as round as any of ours. And when they looked at the baby's face, he looked exactly like us, a Borkian. A gentle family took him in and named him Morko, which in Borkian means the strong one.
Waffles had not made a sound. Raya asked Cody what he thought about this, and Cody could hardly answer. Then he said, A human brought a child up to Bork and left him there? And he looked like you all do? Yes, said Nolo. And then they began to tell Cody and Waffles what Bork had been like at the time. Each one took turns. They spoke of the peace on the planet, almost as peaceful as Vi. Raya had to laugh at that. I know, she said. There is very little that can measure the love and peace of Vi. But at that time, Bork came very close. Arpo told of the green-filled hills, the huge butterflies, the swirling pink clouds that gently flowed by, the many friendly furry animals that would follow you around, the sound of music in the air, sounding like harps and violins made from the branches of flowering trees. It was heavenly.
What happened then? Asked Cody. Nolo told him that when Morko was growing, even though his name meant strong one, he was very weak as a young Borkian. He had very little color, and he liked to smash anything he could find, anywhere he happened to be. He would smash plants, big cups, small wash basins, and any food he came across. But the gentle Borkians did not want to give him away. They felt bad for him because he was so much smaller than the other little Borkians his age. They thought they could change him. He had a strain of something that they could not name, but they vowed they would bring him around. Raya then said, "You do not know this, Cody and Violet, but the Borkians do not move in any time frame that you can imagine. Morko grew to be a young man in what you would think were just months, but in Earth time, it would be 29 years.
Cody and Violet were silent. Even Waffles did not move a hair. Finally, Cody asked, "And then what happened?" Another Borkian, Kolo, then told him of Morko's rise to power. When Morko went to the Borkian learning tube under the pink cloud, he started to push the other boys around. And even though they were so much taller than him, they became very afraid of him. And when Morko saw their fear, he only did it more. He called them names and belittled them. Sometimes he hit them. They had never experienced anything like that. No one had, ever on Bork. And because they were all afraid of him, they didn't want to get on his bad side. So some of them banded with him and walked with him, and soon more and more followed him, and they didn't stop him from anything he did. On Earth, that's called bullying, said Violet. Why didn't someone stop him?
They didn't know how, said another Borkian. And one by one, they took turns talking and telling the tale of Morko's rise to power. And as his band of Borkians grew, suddenly their eyes got darker and more hardened looking. The grasses started getting more pale in color, and the trees were losing many of their leaves. One day, Morko and his large band of followers found a crystal cave hidden under a mountain. They all sat there for a while, and Morko got an idea. He told his soldiers, for that's what he was now calling them, to build him a big seat on a mound of crystal, with crystal poles coming out of the top, and that it would help to give them all magic powers. They believed him, said Lilo. Cody was shaking his head. He could hardly take this in.
And when the crystal throne was finished, and Morko sat on it for the first time, he said to his soldiers, "This is my throne. For now on, you will call me Morko the Supreme, and you will carve crystal sabers for each of you. And these will take energy from the other Borkians and give it to me so I can rule as I'm supposed to." He then took out the 3 small photographs he had arrived with as a baby and told the soldiers to bury them far into the crystal so no one will see them.
Raya then explained to them how once the crystal was put in place and Morko had access to it, Bork started to completely change. The birds stopped singing, the animals hid, and the trees and flowers lost life and became colorless and weak. The eyes of the Borkians faded in color, and their bodies became weaker over time. Then Raya said, "Actually, the planet itself used to be a beautiful light blue color. But then, as soon as the crystal base was put in place, Bork slowly began to get darker and darker until it turned almost black. That is what you saw before you entered.
Corlo, another alien, then said, Morko then designated a huge plot of land, acres and acres, as you would say on Earth, wound in wires, with this huge brown building that could house all that opposed him or refused to follow his orders. I used to be one of his soldiers, said Orpo, but I woke up one day and my spirit had returned to me, and I refused to take energy from the population, and I refused to follow anything that he wanted me to do that I felt was wrong or would hurt another of my fellow Borkians. That is when he put me in the dark lands.
Others spoke up as well, telling Cody and Violet that some of them became so weak as they were of no use to Morko anymore. So he threw them into the Darklands as well. They were told that food was delivered once a day and they were allowed to eat very well, but they were to remain there, not able to see their families or to leave the Darklands. Then Raya said to Cody, "They will not keep you here. They will not keep me here. They're just trying to see if Vi is plotting something against them."
Cody was angry. Raya could see that. Even Waffles started barking, and Violet had to hold him down. Then Cody said, We have to think of a way to stop Morko, to bring him to a place where he cannot do this anymore to the Borkians. That will not work, said Nolo. He has a huge army around him. Suddenly Violet seemed to catch her breath. She stood up, and with a very strong voice she said, There is only one way, and that is to destroy the Crystal Throne.
The other aliens lowered their heads. "I don't think we have any way to do that, Violet." Then Cody said in a strong voice as well, "We have to think of something else that will work. I don't think that will work." The other Borkians all agreed.
Then Violet, standing in front of them, almost starting to cry, said, I remember. I am remembering. What do you remember? Said Cody. Then Violet got so excited she could hardly speak. And then she started to speak so fast they could hardly keep up with her.
"When I was 1 year old, before I could talk, I would spend many days with my grandfather and grandmother when my parents needed to go to work. And my grandfather would read me these stories most of the time or hold me on his lap. But one day, when no one else was home, he told me a story about a planet called Bork. Yes, but how can I remember this? I couldn't talk. But I am remembering. He told me about a distant cousin he had in Norway who had married a half-human, half-alien-looking woman, for my grandfather had seen a photograph, and that she had given birth to a child that looked exactly like an alien. And that strange woman told my grandfather's cousin that she must take their child up to a planet called Bork and give him a life with those who looked like him. She then took him there in a boat, and my grandfather found it hard to believe this, and left him to be found by his own kind. And when she came back to Earth, she told my grandfather's cousin that the child would grow up in evil ways and that he would sit on a crystal throne and destroy whatever Bork had been.
Cody and the Borgians could hardly breathe. And then Violet said, My grandfather told me that his cousin's wife sent him a little note that said that the only way to save Bork from complete destruction would be to destroy the Crystal Throne. The only way! And with her note, my grandfather said, She sent me a little boat, which I am going to give to you when you get older. It will look like a little boat, but it will take you where you need to go.
Violet could hardly catch her breath again, and then she said, "It's the crystal. It's the crystal. We must destroy the crystal."
They all sat in amazement and silence till Cody finally said, Violet, you are the reason we are here on Bork. Because of you. Only you.
And they all started to hug each other. some with tears and some with laughter, but finally with hope. And in a short while, they started to make a plan.
It's amazing. It's so much suspense, and what beautiful writing, you guys. It's just so critical to think of the connection between Cody and Violet and the Planet Vi and Bork and goodness over evil, even when you have to go and destroy something. I can't wait to hear our next chapter. And you guys still have time to give us some ideas of how all this should end. You could do that by sending me an email to amnitsa@gmail.com. Ishan, how do you feel about the story? I thought you looked a little scared.
It was really, I was totally engaged with the story, and I can't believe the twists that have occurred, and I can't wait for the next part.
You were saying the best thing that a writer can hear, truly. Thank you.
Thank you all so very much for doing this with us, and can't wait to see you for chapter 5. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, everybody.
Bye. See you soon.
See you soon.